Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our 1981 top 10 albums. This is a tandem duo or tandem video we've been doing with Brian, Massey's Main Entertainment. Brian's here with us, Doc's with us on Brian's channel, which I will list below. Check out our perfect album for 1981. It'll be released the same time and date as this particular video from the same year. We're going to try to do that from 80 through 99. New project we're working on. We think it'll work out well. We can take a look at a specific year, give you the music from the year and the movies that came out that year. We don't know each other's lists, so these are surprises to all of us as we go along. Personal choices, whatever stayed with you through the years or brings back a certain memory and locks it into position here. That's what we're going with. So it's 1981. Top 10 albums, we're also, or top 10 movies, excuse me. And we're also going to do our worst movie of the year, which is always fun to do, and take a shot at some garbage that came out that no one really cares about. So Doc and Brian, how you guys doing? Glad to be back with you again. And it's fun going back through these years, don't you think, to take a look 40 years in the past and see what was happening?
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, it totally is, man. It's a revisit and it's a rewatch on some, and some you just don't have to rewatch. Some you just start thinking about it loud and you start almost quoting the movies at this stage too, because they've been a part of my fabric for my whole life, right? So that's just the way it is, right? So some are with you a little bit more, but 80s makes good movies, man, and pretty good year again, man. I don't know if it's as good as 80 in general, but 81 is still pretty solid, man.
Yeah, he's right. I feel like there's like when we do these lists, there's like 3 or 4 things I always write down like almost immediately that I know they're in the top 10. I don't know where they're ranked, and then I start like getting a little bit like, oh, throwing myself in there and see, okay, which things kind of resonated with me, rewatchable, and sometimes like this particular year, sometimes I go back and I rewatch at least one of them just to make sure that I'm kind of still with that, with that same opinion. So, but this was a little bit, for me, I felt like this was just a little bit stronger than 80, not much, but just a little bit.
Yeah, I remember having all of these movies, most of my favorite movies anyway, on VHS, and then I picked and choose which ones I went out and got on DVD or Blu-ray, but some of them have stayed with me. Some of them you really need to go back and look at again because they're not as memorable. They're not as clear in the mind. But anyway, today's order is Doc, Brian, and myself, 10 through 1. I guess after we get to number 2, we'll do our worst movie. We don't want to end on the bad note and then hit it with the big one at the end. We'll do that same kind of pattern. So Doc, what do you have for us? Number 10.
And just start reading them off, right?
Just read them off. Go through your list. We're going to do list at a time.
I'm going to start off with the my number 10 is going to come in the satire horror, An American Werewolf in London. It's going to be my number 10 to start. So it's kind of like obviously it's a different kind of movie, man. It's pretty funny. It's pretty gory. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It was really well made when it was made. It's a Landis flick, and just the blues comes in with this. Just always like the movie, man. It's nothing. It's like there's comedic, it's horror, it's gory. A lot of elements the guy might like at this age, and I liked at that age. That's going to fit my bill for a movie that's going to be sticking me within 81. So that'll be my number 10 coming in. I can float anywhere if it's on your list, but
yeah,
that's where it is for me. Number 9. Going with Mel Brooks's, man, The History of the World. So it's going to make my list. I'll tell you. Wow. Who knew there was 15 commandments at one point? So I mean, I don't know. It's stupid slapstick. Yeah. Definitely. It's Mel Brooks, and the 70s and the 80s is not something that you could see now. It's just not. It wouldn't pass a smell test now, man. It wouldn't go anywhere. No. So, but History of the World's a pretty freaking funny movie, man. So it's
Good stuff.
I like that one. It's gonna make my top 10, man. And an 81. It just will. Who knew? I was still waiting on the sequel. I heard the sequel is actually coming, by the way, so we might actually get to see Hitler on it. So this will be pretty interesting. So I don't know. Number 8. I'm gonna go with the thriller Body Heat. That number 8 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that love triangle and everything else that's in there with William Hurt. He's, sadly gone now, but it's what a great role. Yeah, there's a lot of it's a really well done movie, man. It's Hitchcockish.
Yep.
Body Heat's like a thriller from the 80s that you can probably put in your top 10 thrillers maybe out of the 80s. And it did make my list, I think, when we did those at one time or another anyway. So
yeah.
Maybe top 5. But this year, it's my number 8 for the movies of that year. So just the way it is for me. Number 7. No, you guys don't have this one, I don't think. Yeah, Rich, maybe. Definitely not you, Brian. I'll tell you that right now. I still like it. Still a movie with me, man. I like Arthur, and it's gonna make my list, man. So he's just singing Between the Moon and New York City right now, and he's getting pissed off because it's showing up on somebody's list. He's got it down as his worst movie. I can tell you that right now. But to each his own. Right. I do like the humor in this movie too, and I think Dudley Moore is very good in this movie. I know a lot of people. Well, some people do, some people don't. Man, he was up for an Oscar, man. I think he pulled it off very well. And like I said, there's 2 parts of this movie, man, and there's a lot of compassion in that. So back out of that movie there with Gielgud and the death of him, and really coming of age for a drunk that was really rich and what actually happened, but he still turned into a pretty good guy at the end of it. So Arthur's kind of a classic to me in one sense. So that's one that's been with me my whole life as well, and I like the movie. And go to Blowout to follow that up, actually. So my number 6. It's my number 6. De Palma here, man. So John Lithgow, and it's another thriller. And when I went back on my list here and stuff like that, I rewatched a couple things here. So I'm happy I did. Blowout's a really good flick, man. I'm leaning towards maybe one of Travolta's better ones, obviously, in my eyes.
I think so too.
But in my eyes, that's not hard to do either. So I don't think he has a lot of outstanding things, let's say, in career-wise, but he's made a pretty good career of things. But whatever the case, Blowout's a really good flick. Especially for the era, that now it wouldn't fly, but the story back then in 1980 about being the sound guy and everything else, everything's done digital and everything else now, but really well done. I like the aspect of it, and I like Travolta's character in the whole thing, man. He's the one who drives the whole movie, man. He's almost in every scene, so it's really cool. My number 5, it's another thriller, man. Now, you guys said in 1980 that Donald Sutherland's best role was in An Ordinary People, and I didn't say a word, but I'm telling you it's not. So that's my opinion. So Eye of the Needle is his best role, and that's my movie at number 5. So what a snake of a friggin' spy he is in this movie, man. That's not giving it away.
No.
Let me tell you, man, but what a performance by him in that movie, man. It's awesome. The way the story's done. It's over a long period of time in one sense, like it takes over a 4 or 5 year span and everything else. I think it was a great thriller, war thriller during World War II and the Nazis and the British and stuff like that. And who's passing on the right info, especially in the invasion of Normandy and where they're coming in from and stuff like that. Eye of the Needle is a really underrated flick. And to me, Sutherland's best role.
All right.
Gotta go to Snake Plissken at my number 4, man. Escape from New York.
Wow. That's pretty high there, Doc.
That's pretty high, man. Frig, I love the movie. I don't know what to tell you. I love the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Different. Everything else about it, and yeah, it's a different kind of flick. That's what Escape from New York. And Manhattan's a prison, for crying out loud. And Donald Pleasant gets dropped in there. You know, they got the president and everything else, and they got to send in Snake Plissken, the ex-con, to go get him out of there and stuff, and do it. You're free. And like, it's just a really dark, but it's a cool movie is what I would call it. It's just a cool movie to watch. Plissken's an awesome character, man, and what a great dude he is, man. And Kurt Russell pulls it off, man. He's just a cool dude. It's a guy flick. Yeah, so I really, really like Escape from New York, and that's my number 4.
Okay.
So if Rich remembers 4 and 10, then we'll know if I'm on the ballpark here. So, but we'll see what happens.
He remembers.
And, yeah. Number 3, we've done some stuff on this guy a while back, but this movie's awesome, man. I'm going Fort Apache the Bronx at number 3 for me, man.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Different.
Listen, man, if there's a list of top 10, then Paul Newman's in the movie. I got a feeling that movie is going to be in my top 10. So I don't like taking a lot of actors or actresses with me on certain things, but he's one of the guys I really do kind of lean towards where he gets placed. 9 times out of 10, you know, if he's in the movie that year, he might make my list. So Fort Apache is a great flick. Newman as a cop, New York City, set in, you know, the 70s really is what it's set in, really. So
yeah.
It wasn't like today, and it shows in the movie, and there's 2 sides to that movie too. So it's just a great cop flick, and Newman's awesome. So it makes number 3 more for Newman than the movie, but I love the movie because of Newman. So
Makes sense.
Pardon me?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Number 2, man. My number 1 is my number 1, but this could have been my number 1. My number 2 is Das Boot.
Good one.
Probably my favorite war movie. If you want the truth, it's right there for me, man. Schindler's. There's a couple, right? So I just love this movie. It's a sub movie, and from previous videos, you know, I love my sub movies too. So Wolfgang Peterson. This is a special flick, man. 3 hours of hang on to the edge of your seat. It's very tense. There's a lot going on. Even when you don't think anything's going on, there's a lot going on. It's one of those kind of movies. And it's in a tube in the middle of the water during the war. It starts off tense and it just goes for the whole 3-hour ride that way. So Das Boot's a classic, man. If you haven't seen it, I think you should find the time if you're some sort of a movie buff to watch that flick, man.
Absolutely.
Number 1.
Oh,
Sticking with the greatest adventure movie of all time.
Worst movie.
Worst. Good catch. Oh, I already gave it away there, obviously, but damn it. So, okay, it's Tarzan the Ape Man is the worst movie of the year. Okay. In 1980, you know, the hot blonde could not save Xanadu. And in 1981, the hot blonde, Bo Derek, cannot save Tarzan the Ape Man. Man, this is, I got no idea what her husband was doing. That guy just seemed like a whack job to me, man. That guy didn't know how to make a movie for the love of him. And here he is showing a special thing. I'm going to show my wife half naked for an hour and a half and see if I can sell $20 million worth of tickets. And it cost me $2 million to go make a flick. And then we'll go, you know, have a great time on an island someplace for the rest of our lives. That's all that guy was doing, man. That guy was not making movies.
I'm not saying that's a bad
That guy was making money. That's all he was doing.
Yeah.
Piece of shit. Just garbage. And you know, I was thinking Xanadu might be in my list for worst movie. You know, it could make my top 10. It's going to make my top 10 maybe of the year, the decade of the 80s or something like that. This is definitely making it. This is Hollywood's low point, man, in 1981. That's my opinion.
Nice.
But how do you go from the low point to the greatest adventure movie of all time with Raiders? That's my number 1.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, Das Boot's an awesome, different kind of flick, man. Raiders is, I can watch Raiders any time of my life, man. Any time of day, any day of the week. We talked about it before, man. It's Spielberg, it's Lucas. These 2 guys at this time in the early 80s, 1981, they're making this in 80 or something like that. These guys are at their peak, man. These guys are 2 guys that are just owning Hollywood. And the script, Harrison Ford, friggin' man, this is to me, it's not the top 10 movie of the. It's not the best movie of the year. It's going to be in the top 10 movies maybe of all time for me, man.
Yeah.
This is a classic. Raiders is awesome. It's my number one.
Yep.
Excellent
Hard
job.
to argue that. I mean, I like it. I like the choices.
Yeah, cool. Few
Yeah.
surprises, I'm sure, for you there, Brian.
Yeah, a couple I had to run. A couple. I mean, I've seen a couple, but the one of them I haven't seen at all. I have to go watch The Needle.
I have The
haven't
Needle?
seen it. If you're going to tell me it's his best performance, now I've got to know.
Yeah, he's very, very good in it, man. Yeah, I hope you come out and say, yeah, you know what, Doc, you're kind of right, man. That was friggin' pretty impressive.
I've
I don't
seen
know.
it.
You had
I don't-
Arthur on your list. I'm not sure if I can give you any credit yet, but
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of Arthur. I liked Eye of the Needle. I don't think it's his best performance, but we all have different opinions on that. It's a good movie, though.
It's a
The
great
one
movie.
The one movie
Great
I
thriller.
haven't, that I've not seen, Doc hit it on the head, Escape from New York. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I tried to see it before we did this, just to give it a fair shake, and I couldn't get it free, so it's an overlooked film on my list. But his other 9 films I've seen, and his worst movie, I'm completely in agreement with, Tarzan the Ape Man. That husband of his, or hers rather, was exploiting her first in Playboy magazine with the nude pictures, and then making a film, and she's completely, bare-chested the whole film, and he was trying to capitalize on her beautiful body, and that's all it was. There was no plot. There was no
Totally.
Tarzan on an island with a chimp, and it was just a waste of time. And I actually paid to see that in the movie theater. Some guy I used to work with drugged me to see that. Oh, we got to see this. It's going to be quality. I said, no, it's not. So we went and saw it.
Wow.
What a disappointment that was.
Man,
Wow.
there you go.
But
Yeah,
good
Rob.
list. I think I had 4 of your 10, just for the record. I won't say what they are until we get to mine. Brian, what do you have for us?
I had 3 of them, Doc.
No, we're not getting 4.
So at the 10 spot, I have a movie I can watch over and over again. It's absolutely hilarious. I just love the premise, and then the different cast of characters. I've got the Cannonball Run. Got Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise, and you've got Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. playing dressed up like priests, and Roger Moore plays an actor who's pretending to be a spy, like Roger Moore. He's basically playing a parody of himself. Jackie Chan is even in the movie as
That's right.
as one of the racers too. It's just a hilarious film to watch, and the bloopers at the end are almost as funny as anything that happens in the movie. Just the deadpan chemistry between Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise is absolutely hilarious. I don't know how in the world DeLuise can take the physical punishment that Reynolds just dishes out on that poor soul every movie. So it's a great movie. I love to watch it anytime I can. Number 9, I've got Mad Max 2 Road Warrior. I know that you had the original one, Doc, on your list. I kind of like this one a little bit more. It felt like the story kind of flowed a little bit better. There's more of a premise here. You're going up against the bad guy there. I'm trying to remember what they called him there. It's like some weird name. And I mean, when they were introducing him, they're calling him the Master of Disaster, and all this other crazy stuff. I mean, they were just hyping him up like a wrestler or something. So, but they're trying to here he is. He's helping these people try to transport their gasoline, which is like the hottest commodity.
That's right.
That's on the planet in this post-apocalyptic world. Across the desert to try to get it away from these people, and it's really cool. I like the story. Number 8, I was right too, Rich. I have Escape from New York. John Carpenter and Pliskin here going at it. It's just one of those movies it's a guy flick. You can watch it and you can pay attention to it intently, or you can just have it on in the background while you're doing something else, and it's still just as entertaining. Some great sci-fi stuff going on there, and it's kind of cool. Number 7, I've got Stripes, another one of those comedies that I can kind of watch over and over again. Harold Ramis and Bill Murray,
Yep.
you know, joining the military to, you know, to have some type of place to go, since they seem to be out of options in their lives. And it just basically the buffoonery of their entire platoon turns into, you know, a series of unfortunate events that end up working out for them in the end. I think one of my favorite lines from it was when the recruiter asked them if they have been or they are currently homosexuals, and Harold Ramis says, "No, but we are willing to learn." And I was like, wow, where does that answer come from?
Yeah. John Candy
did-
was hilarious in that movie too, man.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And you guys call me Francis, and I kill you. Number 6, I've got On Golden Pond. It's a really nice movie. I thought it was you know, very well acted. I'm a big fan of Katharine Hepburn's you know, role in this, and I thought it was you know, a nice little story that you can kind of go back to every once in a while. Obviously, you getting Jane and her father in the same movie that may have, you know, they probably experienced similar tension in their actual real life relationship, and maybe this was a way to kind of exercise some of the demons by making this film together. I thought they both did a great job in it. Number 5 for me is my favorite James Bond movie is For Your Eyes Only.
Wow.
You know, I prefer Roger Moore, you know, over everybody else that's played Bond over the years. You know, the typical villains that are in it, and the chases and everything else. And it's got the best theme song with Sheena Easton doing the theme song for it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just a great overall movie. I actually had bought that probably about 2 months ago. I bought the collection that featured Roger Moore, and I've been going through them a little bit by little bit, and just recently saw No Time to Die as well to kind of cap off Daniel Craig's stint as James Bond, as that second part to Spectre. So really interesting. Number 4 for me, I've got Body Heat. I agree that this is probably, I would think, definitely in the top 5 thrillers of the 1980s. Really great acting. William Hurt absolutely owned the 80s.
Yeah.
For acting, especially in terms of accolades that he received. Very sensual, erotic thriller that just very well shot. I love the lighting in it. I love the dialogue in it. I think it's all really nicely done. It's just a great movie all the way through. Number 3 for me is the one I went and rewatched to see if it could get back into the top 2, and it didn't. I really like the movie, but it's not a movie that I would just go rewatch all the time. And that's Chariots of Fire. It is very good. You know, I mean, it won Best Picture that year. The score by Van Gellis is absolutely amazing. And about 2 runners, one really running for what he considers like it gets him closer to God, because he's actually going to be a clergyman himself. Another one is from a Jewish background, and he's kind of running for his own personal pride and trying to overcome like a little bit of the racism that he was facing while he was attending this university, and both running for very different reasons, but such a great movie, and how it all comes together, and they're running for their country and triumphant in their own ways at the end. I really like the movie, but just not enough to break into the top 2. So number 2, just like Doc, I've got Das Boot. I got to tell you, between this movie and Dunkirk, you will never get me in a sealed metal container out in the open. It will never ever happen. It's just the intensity and the absolute fear and dread of being in that situation. I couldn't put myself through, and Wolfgang Peterson does a fantastic job just creating that, you know, that sense of claustrophobia that you feel when you're inside of a submarine like that. And it's fantastic. It's wonderful. And just any other year, I would think, if it wasn't up against what my number 1 is, it would easily be number 1. So, but first, before we go there, I have a couple movies talk about that were really bad, and you guys talked about the Tarzan the Ape Man thing, and I didn't even want to really go there. I didn't even want to consider that a real try at making a movie, so I didn't even want to count that. I did have Arthur down initially. Whoa. But I actually I actually went and I said, you know what? I want to watch another movie from that time frame and watch it again. And it actually was the worst film that they actually was a legitimate try, and that's Porky's. It's actually just really toilet humor. For the that's really all it is. I mean, the jokes that were funny then, not really as funny now, or even not at all. Maybe the only Cottrell's character starts howling while they're having sex up in the gym, because they call her Lassie, and no one can figure, you couldn't figure out why they were calling her Lassie, and it's because she howls like a dog whenever they're having sex. And it's, maybe that kind of was still funny, but everything else was just like a one-off toilet humor thing, like American Pie. After you see a guy, do it with a pie on a table one time, I mean, how funny is it the second and third time you go see it again? And Porky's to me was kind of that kind of movie. This wasn't funny to me now as a 53-year-old. Maybe when I was 12, it probably was hilarious, but number one for me is Raiders of the Lost Ark. That seems like a real no-brainer to me. I mean, a movie that you can throw on anytime, watch it all the way through. Harrison Ford, just absolute amazing in it. The theme music is incredible. The pace of the movie is just right. It just doesn't like this carry you like at breakneck speed. They know when to kind of slow things down and then speed things back up again. And it's just a well put together movie that stands the test of time. How long has it been now? I mean, you're talking about 41 years. Hasn't lost a step. I mean, it's still maybe the best adventure film of the 80s, and maybe one of the top 3 of all time, easily.
There you go. Awesome.
Very good. I think I had 5 of your 10, Brian. But I'm going to be going for a brain scan because I don't have your number 1.
Oh my God.
The brain scan Monday is coming.
Okay.
I'm serious. We'll see where it lands, but it's not going to be number 1 for me. Just on the style of movie that I prefer.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not great. It's landmark, but it's just not going to be number 1. My number 10, True Confessions. Robert De Niro and Robert Duvall playing brothers, a murder case loosely based on the Black Dahlia murder of 1947. De Niro actually plays the priest. Duvall plays the detective, and at the center of this crime story. There's some great character actors in here, like Charles Durning and Burgess Meredith, among others. Really kind of a hard-hitting story of these 2 brothers and where they fit into this crime and the church and all that kind of stuff. So I had to include it. It's always been kind of a favorite of mine from 81. So True Confessions. Number 9, Thief. James Caan starring in the Michael Mann film. Michael Mann's feature debut, by the way, 1981.
Yep.
And Caan plays a professional burglar or safecracker who's really desiring to get out of the business and settle down into this regular, normal life with his wife, played by Tuesday Weld. You got this cool score by Tangerine Dream, that 80s kind of music in the background. And there's some double crossing and revenge here, and a couple bloody scenes as well. Again, solid character story. I think James Caan does a great job in this movie. He's caught between good and evil and trying to sort out his life. You got some good character actors. Even Willie Nelson shows up and gives a good performance.
That's right.
Jim Belushi, Dennis Farina, and Robert Prosky, all good, solid actors in this one. That's number 9. Number 8, I agree with Brian, The Road Warrior. That's my favorite of the Mad Max films, also called Mad Max 2 overseas, but The Road Warrior in the US. Mel Gibson, oil or gas is what's the word I'm looking for? It's an obsession. They're going around, it's post-apocalyptic action flick. They're going around with these mohawks and on these bikes. They're all wearing leather and chains, and they're looking for the search for fuel in these Jeeps and tanks and cycles. all these souped up vehicles with it's ultra violent at times, but it's like an on-screen video game. You're watching it, and it's just a fun ride, and I really enjoy that. It's number 8 for me. Number 7 is Blowout, Brian De Palma's classic thriller, shot in Philadelphia, by the way, at the bicentennial. There's all kinds of stuff going around to honor the country, the 200-year anniversary. Travolta's the sound man who's witness to a particular assassination, a political event. A car goes in the river, and he happens to be doing sound with the hoot, the owls and the frogs and the wind and all the kind of stuff that goes on. And he comes upon the scene. He digs out Nancy Allen, who's in the vehicle as well, and saves her. And then they become hunted down by John Lithgow, who's unbelievably evil in this movie. He's the hired hitman trying to clean up, whatever loose ends there are. Definitely a Hitchcockian feel to this film. And you even have Dennis Franz of NYPD Blue fame in here as
That's
this
right.
sleazeball pornographer sort of guy that is involved on the outskirts here. My number, what was that? Number 7. That's number 6 is
7?
Prince of the City, directed by Sidney Lumet. This is one of those corruption in the police force kind of films. Corruption within the New York City police force. Treat Williams plays the lead role, and he makes the decision to expose the different people that are dirty cops, and it goes on from there. Internal affairs is involved. It's kind of gut wrenching when he has to give up his partners as well, and breaking that brotherhood of secrecy and stuff. They become a second family to him, and to save his skin, he's got to sort of throw them under the bus. The prosecutors aren't exactly on the up and up. They're lying to him too. Really a deep kind of film, hard to watch, but long, but I think it's well made. Sidney Lumet makes those kind of films like Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon and Network. He's got a string of great movies, and that's one of them. Number 5 is one nobody have, and I didn't expect them to. It's Reds, directed by Warren Beatty. Kind of a love story set against the Russian Revolution. Diane Keaton and Warren Beatty are in it. Sprawling, kind of an epic film, rather ambitious. Jack Nicholson plays the playwright Eugene O'Neill. Maureen Stapleton won the supporting actress Oscar. Political and romantic, kind of was a big deal back then. And I really liked it when it came out. It's kind of lost its luster now. You don't see it much anymore, but I put it in my top 5. Number 4 is Raiders of the Lost Ark for me. Spielberg's action adventure extravaganza, nonstop action, literally nonstop action from the beginning of the film, high level entertainment. The adventures of Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford. I love Karen Allen as his sidekick too. You got these cliffs and caves and snake pits and Nazis and villains, and it's just a hair-raising one scenario after the next. It's a must-see film for all movie fans, but I put the 3 ahead of it that I like better, just personal taste. My number 3 is Body Heat, Lawrence Kasdan's take on the film noir, double indemnity kind of thing, with a lot of sex scenes thrown in, sweaty bodies, and this one has double crosses and plot twists galore. Very sexy movie, erotic, well-written script. You don't know where it's going, but you know it's going. Kathleen Turner, her first movie, and she leaves an impression here in this movie. Let me tell you, she's one of the all-time femme fatales. William Hurt, a fan favorite. I love William Hurt. He passed away earlier in the year. Great actor in this era. He could do no wrong in my eyes. I liked every movie he put out. And you got support here from Ted Danson, Mickey Rourke, and Richard Crenna. They're all good in the movie, all of them. My number 2 is Das Boot, Wolfgang Peterson, the submarine movie, German U-boat. Very claustrophobic, a lot of terror, a lot of fear, that sense of impending doom. I wouldn't want to be on that boat. You can't pay me enough money to be in there. These guys have and it gives you that feel. It's well directed, for sure. And war is hell. You don't want to be in these guys' situations. Very realistic. Probably the best submarine movie and one of the best war movies ever made. My number 1 is one that Brian couldn't give the little boost to, but I did. Chariots of Fire. I think it's a great movie. I know it's slow. I know it's not, nonstop action. It's just a story movie about these two track athletes from Britain, 1924 Olympics, one Jewish, one Christian, running for different reasons, personal glory on one hand, to honor God on the other. Beautifully filmed. That beach scene with the Evangelist music is hypnotic, and it's classy in every way. And it opens up the question, what drives us internally? Why do we do what we do? And I think this film answers a lot of those questions. I really like the movie a lot. I know it won the Oscar that year for Best Picture, and you could argue some of the other ones are more popular, but I think that stands the test of time. So it's going to be at my number one. And I forgot my worst film. We mentioned it earlier. It's definitely Tarzan the Ape Man, for the reasons we gave. The exploitation of John Derek, who was 30 years older than Bo, and he's got this young, hot, beautiful girl, and he's exploiting her. I don't know how she stayed with him. That was abuse in itself, what he did to that poor girl. I don't know how she survived, because what was she getting out of that other than to show her body all over the screen, all over the magazine? She really had no talent as an actress that I recall, but it could be debatable. But I think John Derek was one of those guys when it was acceptable back then to have his hot looking girl on your arm. He tried it with Linda Evans. That didn't work out. Ursula Andress, I think he was involved with her, and it wasn't the right time to show a lot of nudity back then, but he would have, if he could have gotten away with it, he would have. But then the 80s come, and Bo Derek's hot off of 10, and this is the girl he chose to flaunt. It's a shame. It's just a unprofessional, voyeuristic kind of flick, in my eyes.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what it is.
It's exactly what it is.
But yeah, all the lists were great. I mean, we'll go with our own style. I'm not dissing Raiders. It made number 4 on my list. I love it. But I'm a fan of some of those other flicks a lot better. For me.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Nah, we're good. I just wanted to run by some other films, see if you guys saw these and were they ever in on Golden Pond was a movie that I had written down. How about Absence of Malice with Paul Newman? Anybody consider that one at all?
Yeah,
Right here.
I
Yeah.
considered it. I don't know. It just couldn't break in there.
It would have been in the
of my
team.
favorites. It just of courtroom dramas.
Yeah.
There's one that we'll be discussing later that's
Yes.
infinitely better than it is. You know what I mean? So I couldn't do it. Yeah.
No predicting future number ones, Brian. No
I
predicting
know,
future
I
number
know.
one.
I had a couple of docs down here as great comedies like Stripes, and even American Werewolf in London. For its time, it was a really good film. It mixed comedy, horror, and that kind of thing together. The Bond film, Eye of the Needle, all these are written down. Fort Apache, the Bronx is a good film. Eye of the Needle. Atlantic City with Burt Lancaster and Susan Sarandon's another film that came out that year. It's not a bad
It's a good
film.
movie.
It's a good movie, just not top 10.
No.
Also, Ragtime. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Ragtime.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I haven't seen it in recent years.
It's like
so.
a turn of the century kind of hodgepodge, directed by Milos Forman. It's another good film. But just wanted to, and Taps was a showcase
Taps
for
was
all
out.
this young talent. You know,
No.
you had Sean Penn and Timothy Hutton and Tom Cruise. They were all in that film.
You know, I didn't mind the movie, like the movie Mommy Dearest. I liked some of the stuff in it, but
Yeah.
my God, how brutal do we have to tolerate? I mean, she was just awful. She was just awful to
Right.
those kids the whole time, and there really wasn't any redemptive thing for the kids. You know what I mean? She just screws them over in the end. And I'm like, wow, this is really go from depressing to seriously depressing by the end of the movie.
It's
It
a
was
hard
just-
watch. It really
It's a hard
is.
one.
It's an awful watch.
Yeah.
Faye Dunaway's fantastic.
She's
Faye
great.
Dunaway's great in
Great,
that
yeah.
movie. But yeah, it's the personal taste and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Taps just missed.
Yeah.
I had Reds. I had Chariots of Fire written down. You're right. I'm going with my 10. They're good movies. They're just not
Yeah.
making my top 10. That's
Right.
I understand. I had Nighthawks written down, for crying out loud. I think
Nighthawks
that's
is
an
a pretty
underrated
good
Stallone
movie.
flick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that movie too.
I also had Absence of Malice. I had the Cannonball, Brian. I had that down. That just missed for me too. I even had Outland with Sean
Outland.
Connery.
Yep.
And
Excalibur was
Evil
it.
Dead. Yeah. It's obviously it's got that Blade Runner kind of feel to it because it's in space and it's a cop and everything else. But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is Outland. This is 1981, right? So this is
Yeah.
it's a pretty good flick, man. And Evil Dead. You want to talk
Evil
about a
Dead.
satire kind of friggin' horror
Yeah.
movie, man. This is a classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah,
None of
tongue-in-cheek
us-
flick, man. Awesome.
None of us had the chick flick French Lieutenant's Woman, so that's a feather in our cap.
No, but
What a
listen, that
snoozer.
means
What
for
a
sure you got to go
snoozer.
watch Escape from New York.
I would like to see it. I
Like,
just
who cares? I watched it. I saw that movie all those years ago. I'm going, who cares? Prince Lieutenant's Woman. It's awful.
I'm so
Who
yeah.
cares?
I'm supposed to care about some of these characters eventually, am I not? This is like
Exactly.
really.
it's the whole point. Yeah. 1981, pretty good year for films. There's a
Yeah.
lot that, I wanted to get on Golden Pond in there, but I didn't want to sacrifice anything that I picked. I also like this Albert Brooks movie called Modern Romance. Very funny, kind of neurotic, quirky film. Along the lines of a Woody Allen, which I know you guys aren't fans of, but
No, but I like Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks is funny.
Yeah, I love him. He's hilarious.
Yeah, funny stuff. So that'll take care of that. I want to thank everybody for watching the video. Please leave some comments, your top 10 from 81. Some stuff we left out. We tried to cover as much as we could. I love the comments, love the feedback. Give us a thumbs up. Go check out on Brian's channel, Massey's Main Entertainment, our perfect album, where we picked 12 songs from 1981. Go back and forth, check both of our videos out. We really appreciate it. We'll be back with 1982, hopefully within a week's time, and keep the series rolling. So for Brian and Doc, it's Rich. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later.